I would like to start by saying congratulations to the class of 2020, and I hope everyone is safe and healthy during these times. It's safe to say that the first word that comes to mind when anyone thinks of Dr. Cantwell is badass. Juggling the load of a writer, teacher, activist, and mother, she truly does it all. Dr. Elizabeth Cantwell earned her BA in English from Yale University in 2005. During her time at Yale, Dr. Cantwell was very involved with campus life, from writing for Yale Daily News to singing for the school's all-women's a cappella group, all while working as a student intern at the Central Intelligence Agency, Office of Iraq Analysis during the Iraqi War. After being promoted, Dr. Cantwell was ready to work for the CIA full-time. That same year, soon-to-be Agent Cantwell ultimately decided to leave the Bureau because of an existential crisis she experienced. That quote, "The system is a system, it's not going to change." Getting a job offer from the CIA is already super cool, but turning down a job offer from the CIA, pretty badass. Soon after her realization, she transitioned to teaching high schoolers. She initially took this job as just another offer, but as soon as she stepped foot into the classroom, and as cliche as this sounds, she fell in love with teaching because of the collaborative environment and the way students introduced ideas she had never thought of before. Dr. Cantwell has been teaching at Webb since 2014, as well as cultivating Webb's current humanities curriculum and acting as lead class advisor for both the class of 2017 and class of 2020. She has also published a chapbook as well as 2 books of poetry. Her first book was a finalist for the Hudson Prize in 2012, and her second book was a finalist for the National Poetry Series and was the regional winner for the 2018 Hillary Gravendick Prize. Above all of her accomplishments, though, Dr. Cantwell is a giver. Her leadership as class of 2020's lead class advisor was the driving force of our class. She's so badass that she can get any job done, even through our crippling senioritis, which in my opinion is as impressive as her work at the CIA. The first memory I have of Dr. Cantwell is of when she was giving the chapel introductions for one of her advisees in 2016. As a wee freshman sitting on the pews in the back, all I could gather from these intros were the teachers' relationships with the students. When I started working with Dr. Cantwell, though, I quickly learned that she collaborates with students as well as for students. She truly cares for our class, as individuals and as a whole, in her attempt to always listen to all voices, no matter how small, united the class of 2020. Dr. Cantwell, it would have been nicer to say this in person, but on behalf of the class of 2020, I would like to express our endless gratitude for all the quirky jokes, the pep talks, the heartfelt emails, and most importantly, for being unapologetically you. I will truly miss walking around Webb campus and seeing your ray of charisma and optimism. Although we were not able to take the annual trek up Yosemite together to close the wild year, your words of encouragement will continue to inspire and propel us forward when we are met with obstacles. Thank you for everything. I'm proud to introduce this year's VWS Candlelight faculty speaker, Dr. Elizabeth Cantwell.
Hello, VWS class of 2020, and family, and maybe some WSC people, and whoever else is watching. In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my head ever since. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, he told me, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that you've had. Just kidding. That's the beginning of Great Gatsby, guys. You knew that, right? You didn't really think I'd kick this off with advice from one of literature's biggest hypocrites, did you? It's truly an honor to be your Candlelight speaker this year, this extraordinary, weird, unpredictable year. Thank you for putting your trust in me. Being your lead class advisor for the past 3 years has truly been a privilege and a joy. I have seen your class grow, change, fight, and make up. I have watched you struggle with IPC while secretly loving it, claim you are failing American society while actually doing pretty well, try out new sports, find your voice in the wings of the theater, explode friend groups and reform them again, rope climb, use a compass, discover new passions as you took on advanced studies electives and AP courses, develop independent projects, research colleges, tell me you were terrified of Mr. Shin and Mr. Martinez, cheer each other on during tournaments, hike, leave no trace, embrace in front of the library, build robots, attend conferences, devour fried chicken in Jackson, choose new paths for your futures. Even before this semester, I was impressed by your willingness to tackle difficult challenges and surpass expectations. You were, I think, maybe the first class in all of Webb history to have your hiking boots by the first week of school. I was really proud of that one. You have always been eager to do difficult things, and maybe you've complained a little as you've prepared to do them, but when you've accomplished them, and you've accomplished so much, you felt the rush of endorphins that comes from achieving something that tells you you're stronger, smarter, faster, and more focused than you knew you could be. If you've gotten to know me at all over your time here at Webb, you've probably heard me slip into one of my classic Dr. Cantwell rants. Linear time is a lie, a human invention that lulls us into believing there's a narrative arc to things that we can comprehend and control. Money is imaginary, and currency is based on tenuous agreements to believe in something that isn't there in order to move capitalist enterprises forward. Binary gender is a societal construct. The traditional American dream is a fantasy propped up by invisible oppression and institutional racism. Boy, I'm a really fun person to be around, huh? Thanks for putting up with me. But there is something that I have never seen as fake or constructed, and that's human connection. People. Hell is other people, Sartre says. Sure, because people are real, and we have to contend with them. People challenge us. They get in our way. They disagree with our ideas. They judge us, causing us to judge ourselves. They ask us to do better. They look at us. They are beautiful and terrible. We fall in love with them, which is the ultimate violence, an act that completely tears down our carefully constructed protective walls. They show up in our dreams. As you look back on your time in high school right now, you may think about the different Harkness discussions you participated in, or didn't participate in, the projects you worked on late into the night, the tests you studied for. But in 10 years, you won't remember much of the content you learned. You won't remember the information your teachers taught you or the thesis statements you wrote. But you will remember the person sitting across from you in the Harkness discussion and how they laughed at your joke. You will remember the roommate who played music while you worked on that project late into the night and screamed every time she saw a spider. You'll remember the high five your teacher gave you as he handed back your test, even if you don't remember what the test was about. When I think about my own time in high school and in college, it's the connections I made with people that changed me and made me into who I am today. It's Peter Thaxter and Zach Angel and May Kim and Ryan Yanovich and aimless late night meals at the 24-hour diner in Northern Virginia. It's Becca Lonas and Lauren Curtis and Brian Kim and Sarah Chahaya and a cappella concerts in Connecticut. And here at Webb, it's not the information I've absorbed in faculty meetings that's made me a better teacher and a more caring mentor, but my connections and friendships with Ms. Fisher, Dr. Lindsley, Mr. Zaney, Ms. Brosh, Ms. Bauman. It's my arguments with Mr. Rogers over films, my arguments with Mrs. Gherkin over the proper tense in which to write an essay, my arguments with Mr. Coulter over pop culture and how loud he is, my shared terrified anxiety about driving over a bridge that we should not have been driving on with Dr. Maxon, my knowledge that if I was overly excited about a horror movie, or if I wanted to complain about a passage I hated in a book, Mr. Gherkin would indulge me by listening to me rant and make jokes. Maybe hell is other people, but heaven is too. In Tony Kushner's great American play, Angels in America, which I just finished teaching to the sophomores, there are angels, sure. There's a spiritual world that's very real, but the angels and their heavenly community are not the agents of transcendence in the play. This play about yet another American pandemic, one that also cost more human lives than necessary, one that also tore down people's ability to have human intimacy, has the guts to imagine an America where the true agents of transcendence are people, just regular people. In this world, God is gone. The angels have faulty technology and are scared of progress, but people, they're magical. The emotional connections between ordinary humans are enough to reorganize physical space, to break the rules of physics and time in order to manifest community. Community. It's a word we know well at Webb, one I've heard you recite over the years in various tones of ho-hum resignation. Without honor, there is no trust, Mr. Stockdale says. Without trust, there is no community. Or with laughter or genuine comfort. It's a word that many of you may have struggled with over the last 2 months and change. Can you have a community over Zoom? What good is community when you can't leave your house? How can you have a community when you can't hug, can't touch, can't see each other's smiles under the masks? In Angels in America, the bond among characters is so strong that they can talk to each other when they're not in the same room. They visit each other in dreams and hallucinations. They can sense each other's pain even when they're not physically together. Even when an epidemic, a sickness, has torn them apart. Throughout the first, 7.5 hours of this 8-hour play, the main characters are never actually allowed to be gathered together. Scenes unfold between just 2 characters at a time, highlighting the way these characters find themselves divided over ideological lines, political lines, social justice lines, racial lines. But every scene, every argument, every division, every tiny apocalyptic interaction marks infinitesimal passages of time until a shift in the world has occurred. An earthquake has registered on the seismographs. A prophetic revelation has been heard and been rejected in favor of the now. And in the final scene, 4 characters finally come together, different in many ways, but the same in their desire for more life, to form a physical community. A physical community that's not immortal and infinite like the world of the angels, but one that's better because it is moving towards imperfect disorder, because it can't rest in the stasis of boring perfection. As some of you may be starting to realize, on the cusp of no longer being kids, being human is magical because it's fleeting. Being human is magical because our skin wrinkles, our organs fail, our voices change, our ankles weaken. Being human is magical because ultimately, at the end, we need to hold on to someone else's shoulders to stand up. When Prior Walter is given the option to stay with the angels, to accept the prophecy, to go painlessly into eternal life, he rejects it in favor of the pain of human mortality and existence and illness. He rejects the joyless, antiseptic boardroom of the angels for the messy, chaotic possibility of human community. The world only spins forward, he says, in a line that I have recently quoted to just about everyone I know. The world only spins forward. Does it always become more positive? No. Is progress always a straight line into a better world? Absolutely not. But even when it feels like we're stalling, or worse, backtracking, the world is still spinning forward. And you're on it. You can't stop change, global change, societal change, national change, personal change. We are all part of the infinitesimal calculus of history. In your short time here on Earth, you have changed the world just by being here. You have played roles and altered each other's lives in ways you can't yet see, ways that are still unfolding. And what's ahead of you is so much possibility. You, the class of 2020, are in the middle of your play. It's not that you missed the end of it. It's not that the show closed and you didn't get to be there. Your play is still unfolding. Your epilogue, your chance to finally join with the main characters of your life and hold hands and dream something new, it hasn't happened yet. It's coming. You are leaving Webb, yes, and you're leaving Webb with more relationships and stronger support nets than you had when you first arrived. You are leaving Webb with those hiking boots you bought that haven't yet summited Half Dome, but still can, still may, and still will summit other peaks you may not even be aware of. You are going to invent new mechanisms of healing, new trajectories of travel, new registers of communicating, new stories to tell each other when things are dark. You are going to lead other people through lateral empathy, not hierarchical power. You are going to love other people. To quote Pryor again, you are fabulous creatures, each and every one. And as you metaphorically pass your candles to the class of 2021 and prepare to walk down the chapel aisle, screaming as you reach the doors and the night and the coming dawn of adulthood, I bless you. More life. The great work begins.